Once, long before the skies grew dim with conflict, two kingdoms flourished side by side, Solara bathed in endless sunlight, and Noctara veiled in eternal starlight. Though their magic sprang from the same heavens, their rulers had long since turned away from each other. Where Solara celebrated day with golden towers and bright melodies, Noctara moved through silverlit forests and spoke in soft whispers to the moon. Their feud began so long ago that no one quite remembered why it started. Some said it was a dispute over the rising of the sun. Others claimed it was envy of magic, of beauty, of power. Whatever the cause, a shimmering border of enchanted clouds now separated the two lands. Crossing it without permission was forbidden, punishable by banishment or worse. In Solara, Prince Aurelio was the pride of the realm, a young man with hair like firelight and laughter that could wake the sleeping roses. He rode griffins through the skies, sang with the wind, and trained with the solar guard. But though his people cheered his every step, he often slipped away to quiet gardens, where he would sit by a pool and wonder what lay beyond the glowing mist to the north in Noctara. Princess Lyra was known as the Moon's Song, a gentle yet fearless girl with hair like shadows and eyes bright as falling stars. She danced with spirits, walked barefoot under constellations, and painted murals from moondust on palace walls. Her voice, like silver chimes, could lull even the fiercest beasts to sleep. And yet, she too looked south, toward the forbidden horizon, and asked the stars why hearts that yearned were always told to fear. One night, as the Moonflower Festival unfolded in Noctara, Lyra slipped away from the glowing lanterns and laughter, her owl companion Noon gliding silently beside her. She wandered toward the edge of the kingdom, where a lake met the enchanted border. There, moonlight struck the mist in just the right way, revealing a rippler seam. And far on the other side, a boy was doing the same. Prince Aurelio, escaping a palace banquet in his honor, rode his glimmering griffin flare to the lake beyond Solara's borders. There he landed, brushed shimmering dust from his boots, and stared across the divide, drawn by a haunting melody on the wind. A song not of his world, but one that made his heart beat faster. Their eyes met through the shimmer. Neither spoke, neither ran. And in that silence, the stars blinked just a little brighter. The moment held its breath. Lyra stepped closer, the grass beneath her feet glowing softly with her magic. She reached out her hand, not quite touching the shimmering mist between them. On the other side, Aurelio mirrored her movement. A swirl of golden light met her starlit glowed to colors, dancing together where the veil thinned. "You're real," Lyra whispered, more to herself than to him. Aurelio nodded slowly. "So are you." The mist between them wavered. Noon, perched on a branch above, hooted softly, uneasy. Flare gave a low whinny, pacing restlessly. But neither prince nor princess noticed. For the first time in their lives, they felt seen by someone not of their world, not bound by the same walls. "What's your name?" she asked. "Aurelio, Prince of Solara." He smiled, boyish and sincere. "And you, Lyra, Princess of Noctara." Her smile was softer, curious. "You're not afraid of you?" Aurelio laughed. "No, but I should be. Our kingdoms would probably start a war if they knew. They nearly did last time someone crossed the mist," Lyra said, looking down. "An old tale. To messengers who fell in love and vanished forever," Aurelio finished, voice quiet. "We were told that story too." For a moment, the silence returned, this time heavier. The shimmer in the mist began to pulse. The seam was fading. "I have to go," Lyra said. "The mist is closing. Will you come back?" She paused, heart beating like a hummingbird. "Tomorrow night, when the moon is full again," he nodded. "I'll be here." As the mist thickened, they stepped back, eyes lingering until the last trace of the seam vanished into silver fog. And when it did, the stars above seemed to sigh. Back in Noctara, Lyra returned to her palace through a secret tunnel beneath the gardens. Her mother, Queen Nyx, was holding court, her voice calm but sharp as a sword. "Borders were thinner tonight," the queen remarked to her advisors. The mist felt restless. "Just the moonflower winds," one minister offered, but Lyra's heart fluttered. She said nothing and slipped to her room, where she lay awake, tracing golden sunbeams in the air with her finger. Across the sky, in Solara's grand palace, Aurelio faced a lecture from his father, King Solon, about duty and preparation for the crown trials. "Yes, father," Aurelio said dutifully, though his mind was far away across the border, in moonlight. In that space between day and night, a bond had been sparked. Tomorrow, it would burn brighter. The next night, Lyra stood by her window, wrapped in a cloak stitched with stardust. The full moon shimmered like a guardian above her, casting pale light over the palace spires. She waited until the bells of midnight chimed through the air, then slipped out through the servants' corridor, noon gliding ahead as her silent scout. She ran through meadows of silver grass, the wind lifting her cloak like wings, and at the edge of the lake where the mist still lingered, she saw him. Aurelio was already there, pacing like a fire barely contained. When he saw her, his grin broke across his face like dawn. "You came," he said, relief in his voice. "I said I would," Lyra replied. "Did the mist open again?" Aurelio nodded. "Just before you arrived. It's like it knows." They stood once more at the seam, golden light meeting starlight. But tonight, something was different. The veil shimmered more softly, as though inviting rather than warning. Aurelio looked at her hand, still poised near the edge. "May I?" She hesitated, but only for a breath, then nodded. Slowly, he pressed his palm to hers. There was a soft hum in the air, a vibration, like a harpstring being plucked in the sky. Their magic met and held that mist parted only for a moment, only enough for them to step through. They stood together now, truly together, in a tiny clearing between worlds. The lake shimmered behind them, reflecting both sunfire and moonlight. All around, the air seemed to hold its breath. "Where are we?" Lyra asked, awed. "The Veilwood," Aurelio said. "My tutor told me it's an ancient place, a seam between the kingdoms. It only appears when two spirits are aligned." Lyra turned slowly, the forest glowing softly around them, trees bearing fruit that sparkled with dew like gems. "It's beautiful." "Not as much as you," Aurelio said, then immediately flushed. "I mean not to be," Lyra laughed, light and clear. "You're very Solara, you know, and you're very Noctara," he teased. She stepped to the center of the clearing. A gentle melody swirled around them, no instrument, no singer, just magic. Lyra took his hand. "Dance with me?" He didn't hesitate. They danced under twin moons, one golden, one silver, spinning in a place untouched by war or warning. Their laughter mingled with the wind. For a time, there was no Solara, no Noctara, only a boy and a girl who saw each other clearly. But magic is not easily hidden. Far away, a pair of watching eyes blinked open in the trees, and in both palaces, the mist began to ripple. Something was awakening. The next morning dawned heavy with silence. In Solara, the usually golden sky dimmed to a hazy amber. Birds flew in nervous patterns. Flowers closed too early. King Solon paced the highest tower, his cloak billowing like a storm cloud. The Veilwood stirred. He muttered to his advisor, "Chancellor Verio, that place has been dormant for generations." Chancellor Verio adjusted his monocle, frowning. "If the border is weakening, we must act. Noctara could be planning to breach it." Solon clenched a fist. "Or worse, taint our magic with their shadows." Meanwhile, in the moonlit halls of Noctara, Queen Nyx stood in her mirror chamber, eyes locked on a basin of water that shimmered with ghostly light. Her reflection flickered, showing not herself but two figures dancing in the Veilwood. She turned slowly, summoned the night guard. As messengers scattered through the palace corridors, Lyra stood on her tower balcony, unaware that her secret had been seen. She hummed a tune from the night before, her eyes sparkling with memory. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive. Noon tilted her head, uneasy. "I know," Lyra whispered, stroking the owl's feathers. "It's dangerous, but it feels right." In Solara's royal courtyard, Aurelio trained with a sword made of golden flame, but his strikes lacked focus. His instructor barked commands, but the prince was lost in thought. That night, they met again. The mist welcomed them this time, almost eagerly. It folded open like curtains, revealing the Veilwood once more. The trees hummed gently, and starlit blossoms bloomed at their feet. "I can't stop thinking about you," Aurelio said, brushing a hand through his hair. "Even when I try to focus, you're just there." Lyra smiled sadly. "It's the same for me, but if our families find out, they will," came a cold voice from the shadows. Both spun around. From the gloom stepped a pair of tall figures in dark cloaks, faces hidden behind mirrored masks. One bore a staff of twisted moonwood, the other a sword crackling with obsidian light. "The Moon Queen has eyes in every forest," one said. "The Sun King watches every spark," the other added. Lyra and Aurelio moved closer, instinctively, protective of each other. "We've broken no law," Lyra said firmly. "You've crossed the border," the masked figure hissed. "You've awakened old magic." Aurelio's hand reached for his sun blade, but the figure raised its staff and murmured an incantation. The trees around them shivered. "Your hearts have stirred the veil," the staff wielder continued. "The ancient pact is weakening. If you continue, you risk collapse." The air thickened with tension. But before either royal could speak again, the cloaked watchers vanished like smoke into wind. Aurelio exhaled shakily. What did they mean? Ancient pact. Lyra shook her head. "I don't know, but I think we need to find out." They stood in the clearing, the magic still pulsing faintly between them. The stars above no longer blinked gently. They watched, with wide, worried eyes. Back in Noctara, Lyra snuck into the oldest wing of the palace, the Library of Echoes, where scrolls whispered their stories and constellations spun slowly across vaulted ceilings. It was forbidden to enter alone after midnight. But Lyra had always felt the ancient books welcomed her. She whispered to the shelves, "Tell me what they've hidden." A low shimmer answered. One of the books lifted from its place and floated gently down into her hands. Its leather was cold as stone, bound in silver thread. Embossed on the cover was a symbol she didn't recognize. Two hearts entwined within a circle of light and shadow. She opened it. Inside, she found the story of the Twilight Pact, a forgotten treaty forged in secret centuries ago between Solara and Noctara. Long before the mist divided the kingdoms, To young rulers, Solon I and Nyx of Night fell in love. Their unity brought balance to magic itself. But when a jealous noble betrayed them, the kingdoms fractured. To protect their lands, the Moon Queen and the Sun King sealed the Veilwood with a spell woven from their broken hearts. The spell would hold only so long as the heirs of both thrones stayed apart. If ever the descendants of Solara and Noctara rekindle that love, Lyra read aloud, the veil will tremble, and the old magics will return. She stared at the final line, where the ink faded into a single phrase. Love is the lock. Unity is the key. Across the border, Aurelio was in the solar observatory, a glass tower that turned with the sun. He and his friend Kale, a stargazer, pored over ancient star maps. Aurelio had begged for help deciphering a celestial shift he'd felt since meeting Lyra. Kale traced a line of stars. They're moving. What do you mean? Aurelio asked, frowning. The constellations there aligning in a pattern we haven't seen in ages. It's the harmony sigil. Kale leaned back, stunned. It only forms when opposing forces are in balance. Day and night, sun and moon, life and death, Aurelio whispered, or two hearts meant to be one. That night, Lyra and Aurelio met again in the Veilwood, both now carrying truths they were not meant to know. There was a pact, Lyra said, breathless. Our families were once united by love. That's why the mist weakens when we're together. And if we keep meeting, Aurelio added, the spell could break completely. The kingdoms could unite, Lyra finished, hope lighting her eyes. But a sudden crack split the air above them. The moon shuddered. A beam of light, half golden, half silver, pierced the sky from the Veilwood clearing, shooting upward like a beacon. And in both palaces, alarm bells rang. The secret was no longer theirs alone. The stars had spoken, and the world had heard. The beam of light from the Veilwood did not vanish. Quickly it lingered, pulsing with otherworldly magic, casting long shadows across both kingdoms. Creatures of both night and day paused in their burrows and perches, their instincts awakened by the echo of something ancient. A storm was stirring, not of rain, but of reckoning. In Solara, King Solon stood at the balcony of the dawn spire, jaw clenched. Sound the celestial horn, he commanded. Noctara has broken the peace. In Noctara, Queen Nyx descended into the mirror hall, where visions shimmered like moonlight on water. She saw the beam, she saw the clearing, and she saw her daughter. Her voice was soft but laced with steel. Bring Lyra to me, now. Meanwhile, unaware of the rising fury, Lyra and Aurelio stood together in the Veilwood, the last hums of the beam fading around them. What did we just do? Aurelio asked, voice low. I think. Lyra glanced up, eyes wide with wonder and fear. We woke up the past. Suddenly, the Veilwood quaked. Trees shuddered. Flowers dimmed. The mist around the clearing surged with color: silver, gold, violet. From the air, a shape emerged. A figure cloaked in woven starlight and embers. Face hidden beneath a hood of light. The figure spoke in a voice like wind across ancient stones. You have breached the pact. You have lit the signal. You summon what was sealed. Aurelio stepped forward. Who are you? I am the keeper of the veil, the figure replied. Born from the broken promise. Tasked to guard the seam between your worlds. Lyra's breath caught. We didn't mean to. The veil responds not to intent, but to truth, the keeper said. And yours is undeniable. The forest dimmed further. If you continue, the keeper warned, you risk unbinding more than just a spell. The day flare, the starlight, forces your ancestors buried for good reason. Aurelio's fists clenched. There must be a way forwards, some way for us to be together without destroying everything. The keeper was silent a moment. Then it spoke. There is a trial, a path few survive. Should you walk it and succeed, you may restore the harmony. Fail. The keeper raised a hand. Shadows coiled around it, and the worlds will fall. Before they could ask more, the figure vanished like a flame into mist. Lyra turned to Aurelio, her voice trembling. We have to try. He took her hand together. But even as they stood united, far away in both kingdoms, guards began to gather. Spies raced to report. War councils convened. And in the darkest corner of Noctara, a prisoner in silver chains lifted her head and smiled. The children have stirred the fire, she whispered. Let it burn. 3 nights passed before the mist opened again. Lyra arrived first, cloak pulled tight, her eyes darting toward the stars that had begun to swirl unnaturally in the sky. Noon perched high in the trees, feathers fluffed with unease. The Veilwood felt different, not welcoming, not hostile. Waiting. Aurelio arrived moments later, breathless from the ride. He dismounted, flare with a frown. The solar guard is watching the borders. I had to slip through the ember fields to get here. Lyra nodded. My mother locked every sky gate. I flew on a storm draft. We don't have much time. The clearing around them shimmered, then darkened. A path of glowing stones unfurled through the trees, leading deeper than they had ever gone. The trial, Lyra said softly. Aurelio offered his hand, 1 step at a time. Together, she said, and took it. They walked into the shadows. The forest grew thicker, older. Vines curled like watchful serpents. Time bent strangely. The stars shifted as they moved, and echoes whispered words they hadn't spoken. Finally, they reached a glade unlike any other. A perfect circle of moonflower vines and sunburst lilies. At its center stood a stone arch, ancient and humming with magic. The keeper appeared once more, tall and solemn. You who would mend the veil, it said, must face the mirrors of the heart. What does that mean? Aurelio asked. The keeper lifted its hand. From the arch flowed a pool of starlight. It rippled upward like water in reverse, forming 2 glowing portals, 1 gold, 1 silver. Step through, the keeper instructed, and face the truths you hide. Only then may you walk forward. They hesitated, then nodded. Aurelio stepped into the golden portal. Lyra entered the silver. Inside the gold, Aurelio's trial, he stood in the solar palace throne room. Except it was crumbling, his father's voice echoed. You were never strong enough. Knights turned their backs on him. You will doom us all for a girl. Then Lyra appeared, her eyes accusing. You chose me, but not our people. Aurelio fell to his knees, but then the vision shifted. He saw Lyra take his hand. His father smiled, not in approval, but pride. You are not only my son, you are your own light. The darkness peeled away. He stood, heart steadied. My truth, I want peace, not for her, not for glory, but because I believe it's possible. The mirror burst into golden shards and he was through. Inside the silver, Lyra's trial, she walked through Noctara's gardens, but they wilted beneath her steps. Shadows followed. Her mother's voice echoed. You betray your bloodline. The stars dimmed. Then she saw Aurelio at war flames behind him. You lit this fire. Lyra wept, but then the sky above broke open, and the moon's light poured in. She saw children laughing Solara and Noctara. She heard herself singing them to sleep beneath one sky. You are not her shadow. You are the bridge. She rose. My truth. I want love that heals, not hides. The mirror exploded into stardust. She was through, in the clearing. They emerged at the same time. The keeper bowed. You have passed. The path to the heart of the veil is now open. From the trees, a staircase of light unfurled the stars, but as they stepped forward, a blast of cold magic shook the ground. From the shadows came a voice, honey smooth and venomous. Well done, children. Now step aside. That power belongs to me. A woman in silver chains emerged as glowing wings of broken starlight stretching behind her. The keeper stepped back. Selva, it whispered, the fallen queen. Selva, even her name tasted dangerous. She stepped into the clearing like a storm cloaked in velvet. Silver chains clinked softly at her wrists and ankles, but they didn't bind, they glimmered, as though forged from ancient promises broken. Her eyes shone with twin moons, her gaze a blade. Lyra and Aurelio instinctively moved closer to each other. Who are you? Aurelio asked. The keeper answered before Selva could. She was once queen of both kingdoms, before the veil, before the pact, when the sun and moon walked side by side. Selva smiled. Flatterer. But yes, I was the first to love beyond borders, and the first to be punished for it. Lyra blinked. The legends say, you betrayed the kingdoms. I defied them, Selva snapped. I dared to want more than war and worship. I loved freely, and for that, they sealed me in the hollow below, buried under spells and silence. Aurelio frowned. Then how are you here now? You opened the way, she said simply. You cracked the pact with your tender little tryst. And when the light beam rose from the Veilwood, it shattered my prison's edge. She raised a hand. The silver chains around her glowed and then broke, dissolving into dust. I am free, she whispered. The forest trembled. The keeper stepped forward, but Selva waved a hand and it collapsed, imprisoned in crystal. The mist around them recoiled as though afraid. Your trial awakened the heart of the veil, Selva continued. But its power is not meant for you, it's mine. I will remake the world, no borders, no rulers, no veil, just raw, unbound magic. Lyra's voice was steady, that would destroy both kingdoms. Selva's smile faded. Then let them burn. She lifted both hands now, and tendrils of moonfire and sunflame burst from the sky, striking the ground around them. The staircase of light leading to the heart of the veil began to flicker, destabilizing. You can't stop me, she said. But Aurelio stepped forward, sunblade drawn, its flame steady. Lyra raised her hands as well, threads of silver light spinning from her fingers. The two of them together stood as one. No, Lyra said, but we can. Selva snarled and struck. A battle of light and shadow erupted in the Veilwood. Selva moved like smoke, magic lashing like a tempest. But Lyra and Aurelio moved in harmony, golden bursts, deflecting cold spears of power, silver barriers shielding flame. Their hands clasped, their hearts aligned. Dot from their joined magic rose a radiant sphere, gold and silver, starlight and firelight intertwined. Selva screamed, no, the sphere surged outward, engulfing the glade in blinding light. When it faded, Selva was gone, cast back into the hollow. The staircase to the heart shimmered once more, now calm. The keeper, freed from its prison, rose slowly, watching the two young royals with quiet awe. You did not just survive the trial, it said. You changed it. Aurelio and Lyra looked at one another, breathing hard, and hand in hand, they began to climb toward the heart, toward the choice that would shape two worlds. The staircase of light stretched impossibly high, winding upward through the stars, past time and memory. With each step, Lyra and Aurelio felt lighter, not just in body, but in soul. The night sky above shimmered with colors neither had ever seen. Hues of longing, courage, forgiveness. They reached the summit hand in hand. There, suspended between realms, hovered the heart of the Veiler, great orb of woven silver and gold threads, turning slowly in the air. It pulsed with power, not blinding, not loud, just true. The keeper appeared behind them, quiet and reverent. This is the source, it said. The spell your ancestors wove from broken hearts and buried hopes. It holds back war, but it holds back love, too. Lyra stepped forward, staring into it. She saw flickers her mother, younger, smiling beside a boy with sunfire eyes. She saw Aurelio's father as a child, watching moonflowers open. They were friends once, she whispered. Aurelio nodded. Before the fear, the keeper circled. The orb, you have a choice. Leave the heart untouched. The veil remains. Peace holds, but divided. Your love dies in secret, or we change it, Lyra said softly. But risk chaos, Aurelio added. The keeper bowed. No choice is without cost. Silence. Then Lyra turned to Aurelio. I don't want to love you only in shadows. He met her gaze. Then we love in the light, no matter what comes. Together, they reached out. Their hands touched the orb. Silver and gold threads leaped from its core, wrapping around their arms, hearts, voices. The orb trembled, resisting, and then sang. A deep, resonant chord filled the skies, a note that rang through both kingdoms. In Solara day paused. The sun pulsed bright, then dimmed to a soft glow. In Noctara, the moon flickered, then shone golden at its edge. The Veilwood bloomed wildly. The mists parted, revealing the whole forest at last. A bridge of light grew between the two realms. In their palaces, Queen Nyx and King Solon stepped onto their balconies at the same moment and saw each other across the world. The heart of the veil cracked not with destruction, but transformation. It became a tree, rooted in the stars, its branches stretching toward both sun and moon. At its roots stood Lyra and Aurelio, bathed in starlight. The keeper smiled. You have not broken the world, it said. You have healed it. Back in the Veilwood, dawn and dusk now touched the same flowers. The first peace ambassadors from Noctara arrived at Solara's gates the next day. Children played beneath skies, painted with twilight, and in the middle of it all, beneath the tree of the heart, a young prince and princess danced, not in hiding, but in celebration. Their love had begun a new chapter, not a tragedy, a beginning. Years passed. The tree of the heart grew taller with each season, its branches stretching between the realms of sun and moon. It became more than a symbol. It was a meeting place, a sanctuary, a reminder that once two hearts changed the world. And beneath its shimmering leaves, Lyra and Aurelio were crowned not as rulers of two rival kingdoms, but as the first sovereigns of a united land, Solunara. Their coronation was held at dusk, when the last golden rays of the sun met the rising silver of the moon. The sky shimmered in both hues, as if the heavens themselves were blessing the union. Nocturne star witches stood beside Solaran flame scribes. Nobles bowed together. The people cheered not for a princess or a prince but for hope made real. Lyra wore a gown that rippled like midnight water, threaded with starlight and golden sunbursts. Aurelio's cloak burned like a calm sunrise. They knelt together before the keeper, now a guardian of peace, and pledged to rule not with fear, but with love, balance, and truth. "I promise," Lyra said, her voice steady, "to listen not just to my people, but to my heart." "And I," Aurelio added, "to lead with courage, even when the path is new." The keeper raised its hands, and light poured down. "You are no longer heirs of a broken pact," it declared. "You are the future of one sky." Cheers echoed across the valleys. In the years that followed, Solunara blossomed. The Veilwood became the harmonium grove, open to all. Schools taught the old languages of both lands. Music blended sun chimes and moon harps. Festivals were held where day met night, known as the eclipses of joy. Even Queen Nyx and King Solon, once bitter and proud, found peace. They became advisors to the new rulers, teachers to a new generation. They watched their grandchildren grow up, chasing sunbeams and shadows together, laughing beneath the tree their parents had awakened, and sometimes on quiet evenings, Lyra and Aurelio would return to the heart tree alone. They would sit together beneath its glowing canopy, fingers intertwined, and gaze up at the sky that no longer divided them. "I used to wonder," Lyra would say, "what kind of story we were in." Aurelio would smile. "A love story, always." She would lean on his shoulder. "But not a tragedy. Never," he'd whisper. And far above, stars and sun and moon danced together in harmony, watching over a world once broken, now whole, a world where love was no longer forbidden, but celebrated. The end.